He is unique. He is one of the best players in the world.
He's very intelligent, like the most intelligent person I've ever known.
To really see like how good he was, I'll never forget it.
He just really wants to show what he can do, and nothing's gonna stop him.
There's nobody like this guy. Like, you cannot let him go.
But I always thought that I would do it and can do it, because I already know and feel like I am the best.
After all that you have been through, why do you want to keep going?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm born and raised in Uppsala, so I've never left. I'm not here that much. Like, I'm usually out traveling, playing tournaments. As long as I'm playing Dota, I will probably not move to have like my home base intact.
How he was as a kid. He was a very sweet kid. He had these big, beautiful eyes, blonde hair, looked very Swedish. He would freak out sometimes, you know, when he didn't get his way. It's probably that energy that he harnesses very successfully these days as well.
I think I was a bit of a, I need to find a nicer word. I've definitely been annoying and a bit of a shit kid. So, you know, always late for school, never showing up, and never listened to when teachers or like my parents try to reprimand me and stuff.
I would describe him as like a very goofy person.
Boxi, please.
Food.
I would say he's like so generous.
We're not renting a car.
I could drive you. I could drive like a couple of us.
He's very logical, to the point where I think sometimes you'll find him cold. I think he always views things pretty black and white. If you speak in general terms, he'll ask you to clarify it. Very detail-oriented human being.
I fear for myself if I have kids and they end up like me.
You know, sometimes you grow up and your parents get a divorce because either your mom is crazy or your dad's crazy. We're very fortunate that we have two very non-crazy parents who co-parented very well. So the divorce, you know, all in all, well, it's not bad. I think a lot of people have it a lot worse.
So I got into gaming. It was definitely through my brother and his friends. And we went to some internet cafe to play the old Counter-Strike game, like Counter-Strike Source. But I remember at that internet cafe, I saw somebody else playing Dota on a computer. And I was really amazed.
When Heroes of New Earth released, he would beat my ass. Like, he was already then like so much better than me. At some point I refused to play with him because he would just, you know, school me. So he would have to make like fake accounts and beat my ass, and then after the fact let me know that, oh, that was me, you know.
I remember there had been people, for example like Sai, that had left Han to play Dota, and they had like this really big tournaments with a lot of money. And I remember I told my dad that, like, you know, maybe one day I'm gonna like be there and play with them.
But you know, he'd be gaming all night, skip school as much as possible, come home, game all the time. But he somehow managed to pull it off. And also, during those years, sort of started seeing these glimpses of, he would like play some small online tournament, and he would be like, hey, I actually won some money. And we'd be like, oh, that's weird, okay, you know. There was like a shift, like a turning point, which was when he went to Bangkok to play the World Cup in Heroes of New Earth.
Mom wasn't too happy about letting me go alone with the team, who were, you know, a few years older than me. And because I was only, you know, 15 at the time.
But we went with him, me and my mom. That's when it sunk in, like, oh, this is legit.
And it's also kind of interesting actually seeing it in Cracky's hands and Boxi's actually.
Wow,
there's the jump from BMJ. Shockwave comes out, quick kill.
I mean, I remember seeing like my mom and brother just yelling and just being like, oh, you know, balls to the wall, like in the craze.
And all the Facebook comments are like, what is this old white lady doing there?
But yeah, it went great. We won that tournament. Everyone in school was, you know, kind of talking about it, and makes it a lot easier to be happy with what you're doing when other people are also like supportive of it. Yeah. So Heroes of New Earth kind of was dying down, and a lot of people that played it went to Dota 2 before us. I think it was Mikke and Insania that I play with now that kind of like brought me into it.
It wasn't a long time until he got picked up by Alliance.
And that was like the first major breakthrough, when it became more of a proper job that you kind of spent all of your time on and not just something for fun. Now, at the time, we've been playing with Alliance for a couple years, I think. And then we talked with Liquid because their other team had left and they were looking for a Dota team.
We got an offer from Team Liquid, which was insane. Getting picked up by Alliance was huge, but then getting picked up by Liquid, that was like, okay, now you made it, sort of. Then they sucked.
I say in the beginning, working with Boxi, and I don't want to mince words, it was very unpleasant. He used to not really respect time.
What time did you set your alarm for? I don't know. My alarm is for like 10, like when they start gaming. I don't know.
Oh, game's at!
Sometimes he can get a bit emotional and blow up at me.
It was hard for me to kind of fit in like the structure more. So that was something that I struggled with for a bit.
Him and Aiden had a lot of issues in the beginning. It was quite a bit of a power struggle. The dynamic of the team probably wasn't very healthy.
At the time, I think I was a little bit like, do I really want to like commit to this now? I mean, I wouldn't like leave the team in the middle of the year, but I was like, I'm not sure if this is like what I really want and things like that.
And it kind of came to a boiling point around the time of the summit, where both of them independently approached me and said that they didn't want to play with each other. And everyone kind of aired their grievances. From that moment on, they never yelled at each other. They never raised their voice even. It's always been a pretty positive relationship overall.
He was really, really, really close with Mom.
She was always very supportive of him. And she's the one like he went to with anything.
She saw a bit of herself like in me. I've always been very like fast thinking and very low on patience and like to interrupt people if they're talking slow and if they're being boring.
They would fight like all the time, but it's these kinds of fights you only have with the people you love the most, sort of.
And I think because you have like the same struggles or the same personality as somebody else, I think it's kind of like a special kind of bond, I guess. I remember I came home from school one day and she was like very serious at the dinner table, like, you know, like we have to talk or something like that. And that was, you know, obviously very sad. Kind of came as a shock, but it was also at the time something that we kind of thought that she would, you know, get through.
For us, it was a very drawn out process.
It was hard to comprehend at the time what it meant and what it like would lead to. I remember like me being kind of shook by it and like playing a lot worse and maybe playing less Dota and stuff. And I didn't really want to tell anyone in the team because it was, you know, private and something that I wanted to deal with. But yeah, I feel bad. I don't know if it was Aiden or somebody else, but somebody was like, you have to like step it up, play more. Like, why are you being lazy and stuff? And I was like, yeah, because my mom had cancer. And this is like the look on their faces, you know, not what they expected.
At this period in his life, though, he also had Victoria. And without her, I think it would have been a disaster. But she was really there for him. So
when we started dating, like his mom was already sick. He talked a lot about his mom, and like even when we weren't at her house hanging out, we would FaceTime her. She would put him in his place. Like when we were like here cooking, she would be like, I hope you're helping out right now and not just sitting on the couch doing nothing. The first time, she was eventually declared cancer-free. You celebrate, you let your guard down, and then pretty quickly it came back.
And it was in the middle of COVID as well. It was maybe 3 years ago now, maybe a little more. As I'm sure anyone would agree that has gone through the same, it's hopefully the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. I think the extra hard part from my brother was also that, he was still a pro athlete. He still had to travel. He still had to do all of these things. I think Samuel realized that he wanted to be home. Liquid helped with getting a computer to his mom's house so he could play from there as much as possible. Came home, I think, in early March or something like that, and then I recognized like a big decline. He didn't let us in immediately. I think he told me first to kind of warn me that there was a chance that he could take a break. I mean, I was talking with Liquid and stuff about Blitz if I was gonna take a break and when we were doing it, and it was very hard for me to tell them or to know. But then when she did pass away, obviously, like then I was for sure down for a while. When someone you love dies of cancer, it can be very different from when someone dies suddenly, for example. The first 2-3 weeks, 2 weeks, were very, very rough. He was very, very depressed. I don't know what I did. I think I just stayed in bed for like a month. I don't know. I think I've never been that depressed in my life, I guess. Yeah. It's like you travel somewhere and you just put on like an empty island and you're just there. And that's kind of how it feels like. You just exist. After a while, after some period of time, I started getting up and about a bit more, and getting back into gaming and going outside and like realizing that my life is not over.
Dota is an interesting job where you see each other every day. You constantly think about the person next to you. And at that point, we had built up a pretty healthy culture. I remember I had a moment where I said, okay, guys, you're also 4 people on this team. Boxi wants to come back and play. What do you guys think? And they all unanimously said, even if he's asked if he wants to play, he'll play. There was no hesitation. There was no like bitterness about it. It was just, we'll play with Boxi.
When I came back from my break and we played the TI qualifier, that was like very, very important for me. And once again, something that I kind of poured like my heart and soul into, because I didn't feel like I had much else. And then when we didn't qualify, I was once again pretty... Then I was like, all right, that's it. Life sucks. I'm done.
I remember there was a lot of comments after we didn't make TI, open up Twitter to casually scroll, people like kick Boxi, kick Boxi, kick Boxi, noob Boxi, without a lot of people knowing what was going on. His mom had sent me a message and said like, thank you for taking care of my son and all that, like, and I know you'll continue to do so. For me, there was no doubt that I would work with Boxi again. This guy's just way too good at the game. To his credit, I think a lot of people would have done the opposite. I know I would have. If something like that happened to me, I would not have handled it nearly as well as he did.
I mean, of course I want him to win TI, but really what it's about is that I hate when he loses. I don't care if he stops playing Dota tomorrow, it doesn't matter. I just want him to be happy.
I was kind of like at an impasse, like, okay, maybe like this is it. Maybe I'm done for. I made a lot of sacrifices. I mean, especially with my mom and like maybe being away from home, but not only that, just like with school and friends and everything. Like you need to really want to do it and to really put your fire and soul into it. And I kind of started getting that back after like having a long time to think. The TI break, watching other people play TI and realizing that you're like not there and this is maybe how it will be forever. Kind of eye-opening, and I really wanted to never have that feeling again.
At some point, we kind of just ignored the noise. We didn't think about the stakes. We didn't think about what was going to happen. We didn't think like, if we lose this, we're going to get dropped by Liquid.
And suddenly they started just winning all the time.
Boxi doing what he can here. He's taking down the throne, and Liquid moving on to the next round.
And that was like the start of our really long and cool TI run.
Yes! Yes! Oh my god!
I was like, we're going to win this entire thing. There's no doubt anymore.
They're cheering Boxi!
Watching Liquid win is like the most fun ever.
I think ever since then it's been a lot better and everyone has been a lot more confident in the team and themselves.
He is unique. He is one of the best players in the world. He does not falter. The bigger the moment is, he doesn't care. Like he's still there, still calm, still ready to play.
I think you can beat William with one hand.
The next season, we qualified to the Lima Major.
And we were kind of just rolling. Especially once Nisha joined, we had a lot of new energy. It was just a perfect blend of things.
We can win this one. Like maybe this will be our tournament to win.
I've never felt an easier tournament in my life. I was like, oh wow, every win just happens. And Boxi was playing, I'd say pretty fantastic, not like perfect. I could tell something was up and he had kind of told us that he was having some trouble sleeping and stuff like that.
He told me he was like struggling a little bit. He didn't tell me exactly how bad it was. I don't think he really told anybody how bad it actually was.
Didn't make it really sound like a big deal. We just kept playing day to day. And then one day he told me about his problems.
Throughout all my life, I would say, ever since I was a kid, I've had like some issues with my stomach. I've been to the doctor like probably 12 times in total. I feel like I have better things to do / I'm too ignorant to take my time to actually get it sorted out.
At the start of 2023, it started getting worse. And like in January, I think I was like, okay, but let's make sure you get a time at the doctor's. Like, let's look this up, like what it can be. Obviously, it was a lot of like pains.
He's had problems throughout his whole life. But when I heard this, I was like, okay, is this gonna start now?
But then it all just kind of came crashing down at once. Like gastrointestinal bleeding, like my like there was some wound in my intestine that was just like bleeding quite a lot, and I couldn't really eat anything.
After that, they rushed him to the hospital, and so he got on a plane. He came here. When he came home, he was very weak, very worried. I think we were all very worried, like what was going on.
That was a big wake-up call for me, that I need to both take care of myself better physically, and also to go properly see a doctor and stop kind of pushing it to the side just to be able to compete in gaming.
That was like the worst it's been also so far, for sure.
If it doesn't get better now or this year, I don't think that I can like physically travel around and compete, and with all the stress of the tournaments and stuff, it's just been too much. For me, it's more like worrying, or it's been more of a worry to like what's gonna come of it.
I think it's really unfortunate because Victoria, his girlfriend, came up to me at Berlin and said, as soon as Boxi's healthy, you'll see the best player in the world. And I was like, I think I'm already seeing the best player in the world. To know that there's another level is pretty insane.
If it gets worse and it's related to his lifestyle he has to have playing Dota professionally, I want him to quit. I'm not sure I could ever convince him, which is another issue.
Samuel obviously wants to keep going. Like, he's nowhere done with Dota or competitive like playing. But right now, like, if this doesn't get better, I think he knows like this is too much. I just want him to be healthy. Like, that's priority number one. But I also know like if he had to quit because of this, like that would like crush him.
I saw like I was on the Avicii farewell concert or something. It seemed like the TLDR was just like that he wanted to quit, but his like touring manager was like, suck it up.
I mean,
or something.
yeah,
This is like they just pushed him.
It's like manslaughter, I would say.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty sad. That's gonna be me.
No,
Let me off the
no, don't say that.
After all that you have been through, why do you want to keep going?
I don't feel like I can quit. I don't feel like I can stop competing until I've like established my superiority.
Samuel has always told me like his #1 goal as a Dota 2 player is to win TI.
And he has yet to win TI, right? He actually haven't won yet. So he's not gonna stop until he does, I don't think.
I think he feels like he has a lot to prove to himself. Well, my Boxi, he's such a sweet boy now. I think there's pride.
I don't know. I have like this feeling inside that I haven't accomplished what I set out to do yet. I won't be able to look back at it and feel like I was the best in the world. And that's really kind of all I'm looking for.
He has this incredible drive that is like, no, like, I want to win. And he knows that he can.
Before she passed away, I think my mom, she was, a big part of why I did try and compete and play, because she was, very interested in my success and wanted always the best for me. I think now it's more of like a bittersweet thing where I feel like it's not like I do it now for her. It's more like I wish that she could have been there to see it, I guess, yeah. I know that this might not last forever. And I realized when I got more sick in Lima that, this realistically might be my last year or might be like the end of my career if I don't get better. It's not so easy, and I'm not sure how well I'm doing. I'm just looking forward to the day where all the long years of hard work will have paid off. I think as a team, that's like our goal, to not have to, scrap by and somehow luckily pull out some win. It should be like that we're gonna smash. We're not quite there yet, but we're on our way, and it could happen anytime. Yeah.